Well, looks like we're all set to go. Okay. I guess we can hear everybody and see everybody, and as I mentioned earlier, I think our technology, we're getting better at it with each meeting, so looks like we have everybody here, so we'll go ahead and get started. So good evening. Welcome to Charter Township of Graham Blanc Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, December 8th. And I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we remember our Pearl Harbor Day yesterday. So with that, Mr. Clerk, Clerk Robertson, could you do the roll call with everyone's location being stated? You need to unmute yourself, Mr. Robertson, Clerk Robertson. You need to unmute. We'll go down to the bottom left corner with your cursor. There you go.
Yes, thank you for the reminder. All right, okay. Yes, very good. And when you give your attendance, indicate your location as well, please. Trustee Hugo.
Here, Grand Blanc Township.
Trustee Fike.
Here, Grand Blanc Township.
Trustee Raridan.
Here, Grand Blanc Township.
Trustee White.
Nicole.
Here in Grand Blanc Township.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Very good. Treasurer Kilmer.
You're right up in here.
Yeah.
And your volume's on. You just can't hear.
Bear with us for just a minute. He's having a little bit of technical difficulty.
I can see everything.
Your mute was on.
We can hear you fine now, Mark.
Okay.
And you are present in your office, correct?
I am.
Okay. Okay, myself, I'm in my office. And Supervisor Bennett.
Yes, Grand Blanc Township.
Very good. We have 7 members present, a quorum.
Okay. So I'd ask for approval of this evening's agenda.
Okay.
There's a motion.
Motion by Raridan.
Yes. Seconded by Trustee Fike.
By Fike. Second. All right. In record roll call vote,
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Yes. Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
And Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
Very good. The agenda is approved.
Okay. With that, what I would like to do at this time is for the board to go into executive session. As you see on this evening's agenda, number 4, the closed session is pursuant to MCL 15.268, Section E, to consult with the township's attorneys regarding trial or settlement strategy in connection with the specific pending litigation, Dennis Limita versus Grand Blanc Township and others. Because an open meeting would have a detrimental financial effect on the litigation or settlement position of the township.
Okay.
Would there be a motion?
A roll call vote is in order, Mr. Supervisor.
Well, someone needs to make that motion and support.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, supported by Trustee Hugo.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Hugo. Closed session.
We're gonna have to figure it out. It's gonna be the
Okay.
breakout room.
Trustee Fike, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes, sir.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes. I
Very
would
good.
like to entertain also, so that we don't have to come back out into regular session and then go back into closed session. Item 5 on the agenda is also a closed session item, and it's a closed session to discuss the AFSCME Chapter V and W labor contracts and to consult with the attorney regarding settlement strategy in connection with specific pending litigation. I believe it's mainly, I think we can strike the settlement strategy in connection with specific pending litigation.
Okay.
It's just the first
Um,
portion of that.
Would we, a question for Mr. Laddie, perhaps? Do we need a separate roll call for that?
We do.
Okay, well then, a separate roll call it is. I'll make the
We need
motion to,
are you making the motion, Clerk Robertson?
on the Ask Me issue, yes, to go into
Okay.
closed session.
Yes, okay. Is there support?
Yes.
Support
And
by
who's
Treasurer
that?
Kilmer.
Okay, very good. Motioned and seconded. All right, very good. Then we'll take the roll call. Trustee White,
Yes.
Trustee Raridan,
Yes.
Trustee Fike,
Yes.
Trustee Hugo,
Yes.
myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer,
Yes.
and Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
Okay, we are in closed session for both item 4 and item 5.
Okay, bear with us for a moment. We need to put everybody into a closed session here, which that part we still are learning, so bear with us for just a moment. So Nicole, you know how to do it? Let me just go here to participants. Okay. So at this time in the agenda, we've had a closed session. Mr. Laddie, do we want to take care of the motion at this time that coming out of executive session? You need to unmute yourself, Mr. Laddie.
Okay, how's that?
Very good.
Can you hear me? Good, good.
Yes.
So my suggestion would be a motion to that would say the following: a motion to direct the township attorneys to proceed as discussed in executive session to resolve the lawsuit and submit a proposed employment agreement for Mr. Limita for the board to consider.
Okay, does that motion fit, Mr. Robertson, with what you
It
were
does.
proposing?
And I will make that motion as recited by Mr. Laddie.
Okay. Ms. Hugo?
I'll support.
Okay, supported by Trustee Hugo.
Okay.
Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Clerk Robertson?
Okay, a roll call is in order. Trustee Hugo,
Yes.
Trustee Fike,
Yes.
Trustee Raridan,
Yes.
Trustee White,
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer,
Yes.
myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm also wondering if at this time it would be appropriate to take the vote on the other issue that we discussed in executive session. I believe we had a consensus. Would that be appropriate, David, at this time?
It would. I'm not going to be able to help you with that motion, so this
Right.
this one you're on your own. But
Yep. Well, basically, we just had on the agenda the AFSCME Chapter V and W labor contracts. I'm not sure. I guess somebody can craft a motion. If it doesn't work, we can get with our labor attorney on Thursday and redo it. But if somebody wants to take a stab at it. Mr. Raridan?
I'll make a motion that, that we approve the labor contract as negotiated.
For Chapters V and W?
Right, for chapters, right.
I'll support that motion.
Okay, so we have
Okay,
a
Mr.
motion
Robertson.
by Raridan and a second by Bennett. Okay, on the V and W labor contract. Except as negotiated. Okay, then the record roll call. Trustee Raridan,
Yes.
Trustee Hugo,
Yes.
Trustee White,
Yes.
Trustee Fike,
Yes.
myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer,
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
Very good. 7-0. Motion passes.
All right. Next on the agenda for this evening is a public hearing for Community Development Block Grant, which is referred to as CDBG funds. The board will consider a motion to accept the proposed CDBG projects to be submitted to the Genesee County Metropolitan Planning Commission for consideration for the 2022-2024 program cycle. Okay, we're opening the public hearing, Clerk Robertson, at 8:23.
Okay, very good. Public hearing. 8:23.
Do we have anybody to speak on this issue?
CDBG funds.
Okay. All right, let's bring Ms. Gilman on, and we also have, let's see, are you bringing her on, or I should? Okay. All right, Ms. Gilman, how are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Okay. So where are we at? Can you explain kind of for our board the CDBG, and Ms. Roberts, did you have any input as well, or? Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Mr. Supervisor,
yes.
for those of us who are unacquainted with Ms. Gilman, would she indicate who she is and other
title?
pertinent details for the record?
Go ahead, Ms. Gilman, just go ahead and give your title and what.
Sure. I'm the administrative assistant for the fire department at the moment. I have been an administrative assistant for Blanc Township since June of 2015. I started with helping out Mickey Hoffman.
Okay. Very good.
And Dennis Limata, and now Chief Bob Burdett.
And
And
so, yep. And so Ms. Gilman actually coordinates the CDBG effort for basically asking for money and also reporting on it. And it's very important that we get it exactly correct because being that it's a federal grant, I want to make sure I don't get in trouble there. So Ms. Gilman has a lot of, we have a lot of trust in her ability to handle these funds.
Thank you for helping me be complete in my minute production here.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Ms. Gilman, if you want to give us kind of an overview of what we're looking at for this year or for the next several years.
Yeah. What we have right now before us is the application for the 2022 to 2024. They have us do it 2 years in advance, so then we have time to start the project, complete it. We can't do any road projects that have already begun because with HUD, they want to make sure that they see the project completely through from beginning to end to make sure that we're being compliant. In the 2022, we have a proposed allocation of $273,175, which is exciting because 2 years ago it was only like $190,000. So that's exciting that they've given us more money. With that, I have 6 projects that we've had a pre-application for. We always do senior center operations, which is our manager for the senior center. $14,000 would go towards her salary, and the rest of it is covered by senior center millage funds as well as the general funds. The next thing that we applied for is a multi-purpose court at the senior center that would be behind the building that would have shuffleboard on it, pickleball, and it could also be helpful for outdoor programming. That would be $18,000 that we're asking for. Senior center facility, their doors need to be replaced outside, and that would cover the exterior doors and the frames, as well as replacing some hardware. We only allocated for $8,000, and Patrick Linehan said it might be like a $10,000 project, so the rest of that would be covered by Parks and Recreation millage funds. Our 4th project is Parks and Recreation waiver program. We don't have this at the moment, but it would be something interesting to have for community members who cannot afford programming, whether it be children or adults. And we did $8,000 for that. They would have to fill something out to show that they are a low mod income, and then we could give money to them so that they could do the programming. Another thing that we have is resurfacing Ocker and Park Drive. This is about 2,400 feet that we would be resurfacing, and that is $100,000. And then resurfacing Genesee Road. This is a mile, so it is more expensive. The Genesee County Road Commission is also putting money towards this, so we would only be putting towards $100,000 towards that. So with what we pre-applied for, we would be doing $248,400, which is 90% of what we have a allocation for.
So just a couple of things to add to Megan's or Ms. Gilman's report is that number one, these funds can only be used for individuals that are low or moderate income, correct, Ms. Gilman?
Yes.
And so
that shows which areas are low to moderate income, and that map changes every couple years. We got a new map, I believe, last year.
Right.
And on top of helping those mapped areas, we can also do like a salary survey for households as well,
Right.
which is where the Parks and Recreation program funding will
Right.
come in.
So what happens is that the map changes as far as where these funds can be used based on low mod income. And so if there's a street project, that neighborhood has to be in that mapped in area by the federal government that says that that's a low to moderate income. So if we get a bunch of calls tomorrow saying, hey, I want to have my street included in there, the only way that we can do it is if it's in that mapped area. And actually, I believe it was Howe Road that we were able to use some of those funds for, believe it or not, in the past year. So it's kind of strange what they allow and don't allow. What Ms. Gilman mentioned was that we've sent in a pre-authorization for these, I believe, right, Ms. Gilman?
Yes.
And these projects are viable for them to fund. We try to use every last cent that they make available to us. And so it looks like we've done a pretty good job of using up everything that they want to give us for great projects here in the township. So does anybody have any questions for Ms. Gilman? I believe we have to open the floor, Mr. Laddie, for the public to comment on these projects. Any of our board members have a question? Trustee Reardon?
Yeah, I just have a quick one. On Ocker Drive and Park Drive, Ocker is public. Is Park Drive public, or is that part of Parkwood?
Yes, it is public.
Okay.
And it's only 1,200 feet of it that we will be resurfacing.
So there may be a portion of it that is private, but 1,200 feet of it may be public.
Okay.
All right. Okay, we will take this and open it to the public for any comment. And Ms. Roberts, does anybody have their hand raised that they would like to comment on the public hearing for CDBG funds? We will take public comment for other items in a few moments, but at this time, we're just taking public comment for the CDBG. So, Mr. Ert, I believe you're unmuted if you'd like to speak to this issue.
Yes, thank you for the detailed thing we had here from Megan Gilman. And I think this is great that we're utilizing this money as well as we can in our community. I just had one comment that I believe the senior center is owned 50-50 by the city and the township. And I see we're doing some facility repairs to it. I just want to make sure that you got in mind that the city reciprocate maybe and something in the same path we are. And that's about all I had to say about that one.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ert. And reminder, just for anybody who wants to make a comment, please give us your name and address for the record. I'm sure Clerk Robertson probably has your address, so we can skip with that formality. If anybody else wishes to speak, what I would suggest that you do to raise your hand is take your cursor to the bottom of the screen, and you'll see an icon for participants. A list of the participants in the meeting will pop up on the right-hand side. And down at the bottom of that list, I believe there's a icon for raising your hand. I don't see anybody else with their hand raised. So I guess we will bring it back here to the board. And at this time, Mr. Laddie, what's our process at this point? We vote on this, or you need to unmute yourself, Mr. Laddie? Mr. Laddie, you'll need to unmute yourself.
So we've had the public hearing, you've had the proposed projects, and if the board wants to accept those proposed projects, I think a motion would be in order to forward that to CDBG.
Mr. Fike?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Fike makes that motion to accept the CDBG projects. Do we have support?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Treasurer Kilmer.
Okay. Seconded by Kilmer. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Robertson?
Okay, record roll call. Trustee Fike,
Yes.
Trustee White,
Yes.
Trustee Hugo,
Yes.
Trustee Raridan,
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer,
Yes.
Clerk Robertson, myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett,
Yes.
7-0. Motion passes.
Thank you. It was nice meeting you all.
Okay. Thank you, Megan. Thanks, Ms. Gilman. Okay, with that, we'll move on. I'm sorry? 8:34. Okay, we close the public hearing at 8:34, Clerk Robertson. For the
Thank you very
record.
much. 8:34, did you say?
Yes.
8:34, close public hearing. Very good.
Okay. Next, we will go to public comment, and this is anything that's on the agenda that you would like to comment. We just ask that you actually give your name and address, and that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. And I think we have a timer going these days, so you may hear something go off. So, do we have anybody with their hand raised, Mr. Roberts? Okay, Mr. Erd, I believe you're unmuted at this time.
Yes, Ed 7212 Porter Road. Sorry I didn't say that last time. It's usually part of my spiel. Anyhow, I noticed you have a meeting scheduled here on to be voted on. And I noticed on here as it has been in the past, special meetings must be posted 18 hours prior to the meeting on the township door. Well, to me, especially in this COVID situation, nobody wants to go out. I can't imagine, to me, this seems like horse and buggy days. Why aren't we posting it on the township website prior to the special meeting where, all this technology we have nowadays, that's how we operate. We don't operate by everyone running up and looking at the township door. So I'd ask you to consider doing that, making that part of it, that we put it on the township website when we're going to have a meeting. It's very simple. And I thank you for listening to me. Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you. Just a point of information, our meetings, if you go to our website, to the bottom of the page, of the first homepage of our website, you'll see a calendar on that first page. If you go down to that calendar and click on any particular day, the actual dates are underlined where there's actual meetings. If you click on that date, you'll see the meeting scheduled for that day as well as the agenda and the packet. The meeting that we're proposing, I believe, for coming up, the special meeting may not be on there yet because we haven't approved that meeting yet. We will do that on Thursday. And
It's on your meeting schedule, the bottom line, it says special meetings 18 hours prior.
right, can you mute him? Okay. All right. So any other public comment? I don't see anybody else with their hand raised at this time. So we will continue on with our agenda. And I'm going to ask that we hold off on a board presentation. I thought that the agenda was getting pretty well packed, and so the presentation on the IT assessment, I'm going to ask that we defer that till probably in January, just because it will be quite a lengthy presentation, and I think we need to get through some other pressing matters this week. With that, I would like to review, our next item is a review of the board agenda for our meeting this Thursday, December 10th. And we will be approving the minutes. Hopefully, everybody has a copy of those in their packet. And some of those are from the previous board, I believe. And we have a couple of meetings that this board conducted, so those minutes are there as well. In the consent agenda, how the consent agenda works is that basically everything listed in the consent agenda, when we approve the agenda on Thursday, I'll actually entertain a motion to accept both the regular agenda and the consent agenda. When we approve the consent agenda, what that does basically is it approves all those items on the consent agenda. However, what I would ask is if anyone has questions on anything on the agenda that you contact me and I will get you the answers through one of our department heads or myself or Mr. Laddie. So if you have questions on anything in here, give me a call or email me and I'll direct it to the right person to answer it. But if there's something that you're not satisfied with the answer, or maybe for whatever reason you weren't able to get a hold of me, but I would appreciate knowing in advance what the questions are. But we are able to pull an item out of the consent agenda. So let's say that, hey, I want to pull the meeting schedule out because I think there's a change that we need to consider. You could ask when we go to entertain a motion to vote on the two agendas, the consent agenda and the regular agenda, you would simply say, I would like to ask that we pull, item C, the meeting schedule out of the consent agenda and put that on the operational agenda. So it allows us to cover it and have discussion, further on that. But the consent agenda allows us to move through a lot of items that are in your packet that have a lot of the detail, but yet we don't have, it's a lot of times we're purchasing things or we're renewing a software subscription or something like this. And to have us vote on that really takes up a lot of time. And if you have questions on it, we can work through it. Trustee White?
I just have a question. Why is this special meeting set for 10 a.m. on the 22nd? I mean, a lot of us have full-time jobs, so it's
Right.
kind of, I don't know why we just couldn't have it as an evening meeting.
Sure. We probably could, I don't know. It was basically, the meeting will be very brief. It's to basically, what you see for item A will be probably would be the only thing on the agenda for that meeting. So it's basically, if anybody has any concerns on the bills that we're paying. But, if you would like, we could schedule that for the evening. Or, it's probably going to be about a half-hour meeting or 15-minute meeting. If we wanted to, just free up your evening is, I think, the idea behind it. So
That's fine. I just was wondering why, if there was a reason it was specifically,
Right.
At an off time.
So, speak up if there's a better time. I'm not dead set on 10. So, let's look at that and email. I'll tell you what, you guys email me and, what time works for you if that 10 o'clock doesn't work. And we'll try to work something out with everybody. But just email me individually. Okay, so the consent agenda, just to run through these, we're going to pay some bills. Treasurer's financial activity recap for a grand total of $2,831,148.78. All of you received the check register, and you can go through that and see what bills we're paying. So if you have any questions on that, feel free to email me, and I'll get you in touch with Kathy Solstack or whoever the department head is that has something in those bills. Item B, the board will consider a motion to schedule a special meeting for Tuesday, December 22nd at 10 a.m. We just discussed that, so email me if there's a better time for each of you or that doesn't work. We have to have 4 members present in order to vote on that, to have a quorum. Item C, the board will consider a motion to approve the 2021 meeting schedule. And with that, what we're proposing is to meet every other Tuesday and be able to take care of business. It'll help our accounts payable to be timely because right now we have some stretches where we're 3 weeks between meetings. So it'll help us to meet more regularly and be able to do accounts payable. It'll also help with the minutes so that Mr. Robertson has a chance. One of the things that's difficult is when we're approving 4 meetings worth of minutes, like we are Thursday, to recall what actually happened, a month ago. By having the meetings every other week, we're going to know that Clerk Robertson will have the meeting minutes prepared from the prior meeting, and we shouldn't have any problem recalling what business took place at the prior meeting. So I think that'll be much better for us, keep us on track. Item D, the board will consider a motion to approve a one-year contract with HydroCorp for the cross-connection control inspections for $1,295 per month or $15,540 annually, and authorize the township supervisor to execute all related contracts and agreements. Everybody received in their packet some information with regard to this. Mr. Sears is on, I believe, still. Maybe not. Okay. If we had any questions for him, but cross-connection is basically something that we're required by the state to conduct, and it's something that we've been contracting out for some time, and we need to continue doing that. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Sears? Anything that you want to bring forward, Mr. Sears, on that topic?
No, I'm just here to answer any questions. We had a previous agreement that, like my memo highlights, it expired this past summer. We weren't able to negotiate a new agreement very quickly with them, so here it is before you. Like I said in the memo, we're only asking for a one-year agreement at this time. We may need to make some changes to it depending on what we do with irrigation systems, because those irrigation systems for commercial properties would need to be inspected, which increases the amount of accounts, which will increase our fee for cross connections inspections. I'm here to answer any questions anyone may have, though.
Director Sears, can you just kind of quickly tell us what a cross connection is?
Sure. So most commercial businesses have a device, and irrigation systems have a device that prevents backflow of water back into the public water supply, which is a cross connection. With a lot of commercial businesses like industrial sites, doctors' offices, the hospital, they all have the potential to have chemicals or chemical injections into their systems, or cleaning solutions and stuff like that are tied directly into their drinking water supply. In the proper or the perfect situation, if they lose pressure or something like that, the water can actually reverse flow and flow back into our drinking water. So the device actually stops any water from leaving their premises, and it'll stay there. It won't come back into our supply lines. The cross connection inspections, what they do, every device has to be tested annually to make sure that it's functioning properly. Our inspections basically ensure that they have been tested, and we walk through the buildings and make sure that nothing new has been added that might pose a hazard.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sears. Any questions on that item? Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Thank you, Mr. Sears. Item E, the board will consider a motion for reappointment of Ronald Eaton to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 3-year term, December 2020 to December 2023. Mr. Eaton served on the Zoning Board of Appeals for the past 3 years and wishes to continue. Item F, the board will consider a motion to appoint for the appointment of Paul White, trustee Paul White, to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 4-year term, December 2020 to November 2024. And actually, I believe it's at the pleasure of the board. So if you ever wanted to switch or whatever, we can discuss that. But the bottom line is Zoning Board of Appeals is, like any of these other committees, is critical to the township. And so we would ask Mr. White to serve as the board representative to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Item G, the board will consider a motion for the reappointment of resident Monica Shapiro to the Genesee County Metropolitan Alliance for 1-year term, December 2020 to December 21. And the Metropolitan Alliance is actually a planning group for the road system and funding of the major road systems in Genesee County. We also are asking on item H to appoint trustee Joel Fike to the Genesee County Metropolitan Alliance for a 4-year term from 2020 to November 2024. And he would serve in that capacity as well on that board. They meet about monthly. And with COVID, everybody's meeting online. So item I, the board will consider a motion for the appointment of trustee Jude Raridan to the Police Committee for a 4-year term, December 2020 to November 20th, 2024. And they meet periodically to discuss issues regarding our police department. Item J, the board will consider a motion for the appointment of resident Kylie McCready to the McFarland Library Board for a 3-year term. December 2020, December 2023. Actually, the McFarland Library Board, we have 2 representatives, a board representative and a resident that serve on that. And then the city also has the same, and I forget where the 5th person comes from, maybe from the county. But anyways, I'm asking that you appoint resident Kylie McCready to that. Item K, the board will consider a motion for the appointment of Larry Anderson to the Planning Commission for a partial term of December 2020 to July 2021. Mr. Anderson served on the board in the past. I'm not sure he may have served on the Planning Commission, but he's very well aware of issues regarding the Planning Commission. Item L, the board will consider a motion for the appointment of trustee Sarah Hugo to the Planning Commission for a 4-year term from December 2020 to November 20th, 2024. So many of these meet once a month, sometimes fewer than that, but I don't believe any of them really, maybe every once a year they might have 2 meetings in a month, but it would be a rare occasion, very rare. On Thursday, we will also have a public hearing for proposed general fund and special revenue funds budget for 2021. The property tax millage rates to support the proposed budgets will be a subject of this hearing. And we will have, who do we have on the line for that? Kathy, is Kathy on right now, or? Okay. Now we have our finance director, Ms. Sostak, available, and I believe if anybody has any questions on those funds, she's available to answer any questions, even outside of this meeting. But probably take a look at those special revenue funds and the general fund, and if you have any questions, feel free to email myself and we will get the answers from Ms. Sostak. Ms. Sostak, do you have any comments or things you want to present to the board at this time?
Yeah, the one thing I did want to point out on the general fund budget, there was a modification from the version that they had received on November 20th, and that was presented at the last board meeting. The only modification was that we added 2 additional police patrol officer positions to the police department. And that was a total of $194,217. And the funding for that came from a reduction to the contribution for our post-employment benefits. But the bottom line remains the same on the budget. Revenues and expenditures are equal at $16,948,808, and it remains a balanced budget. And there were no modifications to the special revenue fund budgets.
So, Ms. Sostak, one of the things that everybody's new to this on the board in terms of I'm sure everybody's looked at budgets before, but everybody's new to doing this for the township here. All of these can be amended during the course of the year, and just because we pass this budget isn't necessarily an authorization to spend all this money. It comes before the board. I just wanted to make sure everybody's aware of that.
That's correct. Yes, that's correct. This budget can be amended at any time throughout the 2021 year, all the way up until December 31st. And exactly right. We still have a purchasing policy that must be, the department heads must abide by. And just because it's in the budget, it doesn't automatically mean that they have the right to purchase it. It does still have to go before the board if it falls within the purchasing policy guidelines.
Right. Okay, Mr. Fike, you had a question?
Yes, I just wondered why the 2021 board working budget is so much less than the 2020 amended budget. Did you explain that?
Oh, then the current year budget, then the 2020
Yeah,
current
yeah.
year budget?
Yeah. You know,
Um,
the working budget is 16.9, but the amended is 18 almost. Well, $100,000.
yeah, it's just a different revenue sources. We always tend to be conservative on our revenues too, so we don't go over budget as well. And also we did do some budget amendments to increase some revenue sources at it was the last board that did it. It would have been the first meeting in November. So, I mean, that's not uncommon. It just depends on the revenue sources in
All right.
any one particular year.
And I think one of the things you'll hear from our auditors when we do have an audit is, at least past practice, will tell you that, our projections and our expenditures, our finance department and our superintendent, those things are very well managed. So, okay, well, if you hang on, Director Solstack, we'll go through a couple other operational items that regard the budget. So,
Certainly.
under operational issues on Thursday, we're going to just vote on a resolution to approve the 2021 general fund budget. These all have to be approved basically at this meeting because we're required by December 31st to have these in place. Item B, the board will consider a resolution to approve the 2021 special revenue funds. Item C, the board will consider a resolution to amend the 2020 general fund budget. Item D, we'll consider a resolution to amend the 2020 special revenue fund budget. And then we get into some good stuff where the board will consider a motion to approve the additional contributions to MERS. MERS is the Michigan Employment Retiree System, and it's the fund that most municipalities, I would guess, use or utilize for their public employees' retirement funds. And one of the goals that we have is to bring that funding up to a level where we're not behind the eight ball. The state, a couple of years ago, passed another piece of legislation that requires us to have that funded to a certain percentage. We've been moving towards that direction and very rapidly. So these contributions would go towards those unfunded liabilities. And so these are funds that are remaining in our budget that we're going to allocate towards those defined benefit pensions. Okay. Item F, the board will consider a motion to approve the fee schedule. So any fee that we have for residents has to be approved annually. Am I correct, Director Solstack? Whether it's a building
Yes,
department
typically,
fee.
yes.
Yep. Building department
Right.
fees, anything. So take a look at
Exactly.
that.
It's all the fees that the township charges, and we do review those on an annual basis. At times they change. For the most part, they remain the same. But this is the opportunity to modify those fees at this point in time, though.
And the fees, really, we have to watch it because if we can't charge more than what the actual cost, we can't use it as a profit center. And on the other hand, we can't lose money on them either. So it's a balancing act. Item G, and so you'll have the fee schedule. I believe it's in your packet or you're emailed that separately. Item G, the board will consider a resolution to approve the designated assessor for Genesee County. And what that is all about is that the state passed some legislation that requires the county to have a designated assessor. And what that means is that if we don't pass our AMAR, another acronym that I couldn't tell you what it is right off, but basically if we don't pass certain requirements in terms of our assessing, the county sends in the designated assessor to take a look at all of our assessing records and make sure that we get in line with the state. The county put out bids for this position, and there was one person that bid on it. And I think all of you would know probably the person that, if I tell you who it is, that was contracted with to be the designated assessor. It's actually one of our former employees, two former employees. One, it's their daughter, and it's the other, their sister. So Stacy Cake, who's the daughter of Miss Peggy Nolde and sister of Lynn Henry, will be the county's designated assessor. So hopefully we won't ever have to utilize their service. Item H, the board will consider a resolution adopting the 2021 federal guideline for poverty exemption. I'm not sure if we have anybody to speak to that, but basically, we have to adopt a resolution that just says that we're going to follow the federal guidelines for poverty exemptions. So it's in your packet. If you want more information, email me. Item I, the board will consider a resolution to authorize the bonds for the Grand Blanc Estates Subdivision Special Assessment District. Mr. Kilmer, you have anything on that you'd like to mention?
Yes. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. They had the bond auction the other day.
I'm sorry. That's right.
And we came in with a very, very favorable rate. So I think the homeowners should be reasonably happy. High Point Bank was the had the best rate, and I'm recommending that we accept their rate. Their rate was 2.74 on a 15-year bond.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kilmer. Next item is also that the board will consider a resolution to set a date for a public hearing to consider approval of the special assessment district role for the resurfacing of Misty Meadows subdivision on January 12th, 2021 at 7 p.m. So we have a road project coming before us for a subdivision. Item K, the board will consider a resolution for the Charter Township of Grand Blanc Board to choose to opt out of the requirements of PA 152 for 2011, of 2011, for its current plan year due to the fact that employees pay 20% of their health care premiums. Does anybody have questions on PA 152? I don't know if, no? Okay. Very good. Item L, the board will consider a motion to approve the purchase of a new 2021 International HV601 from Tri-County Trucks for an amount not to exceed $100,000 and have the chassis outfitted by Knapheide Truck Equipment for an amount not to exceed $140,000 and authorize Township Supervisor to execute all related contracts and documents. We have Director Sears on our DPW. Director Sears, if you can just give a snapshot of what this truck is used for?
Sure. So this truck is a large dump truck that is primarily used for plowing and salting subdivision roads throughout the township. It's also used for water and sewer department functions. On occasion, whenever we have dig ups, we need to pull a trailer, a large trailer, a piece of equipment. It is one of 6, I believe. And it's one of our older ones that we'll be replacing. These are on a 15-year replacement schedule. This one's a little bit older, over the 15 years, but we're over the past 6 years, we've been working on catching up on that schedule. So we should be after this truck. I can answer any questions anyone might have.
Okay, I don't see any questions. Moving on to item M, the board will consider a motion to approve the purchase of a new 2021 International CV 515 from Tri-County Trucks for an amount not to exceed $63,000 and have the chassis outfitted by Knapheide Truck Equipment for an amount not to exceed $67,000 and authorize Township Supervisor to execute all related contracts and documents. Mr. Sears, that truck is used for?
Correct. That truck is a smaller truck. It's also a dump truck, but it's primarily used in water and sewer departments. We also use it in the winter for snow removal on dead-end streets and parking lots. But primarily it's used in the water and sewer departments in the spring, summer, and fall to haul aggregate to job sites in and out. But it is a smaller truck, and I will mention both trucks were pre-bid through My Deal, which is a state of Michigan bidding system. So the township doesn't actually go out for bid, the state of Michigan does. And both trucks will be auctioned off after we receive the new ones.
So if everybody caught that, the state has a bid program that actually we participate in for the purchase of those trucks. Next item on the agenda would be item N. The board will consider a resolution confirming the suspension of late fees on township water bills retroactive to April 2020 due to COVID-19. The suspension of late fees will continue until reinstated by the board. So I don't know if Mr. Laddie or Mr. Sears want to comment on that.
Sure, I can do
Mr.
that.
Chairman, yeah, I'll let Mr. Sears explain that.
Okay.
Since COVID hit us in March, we have been waiving penalties for utility bills due to hardships that we know many township residents will have because of loss of income. The utility ordinance does dictate that we impose those penalties. So we would like the township board to pass a resolution to waive the penalties until, I believe, if I remember correctly, the resolution says July of 2021. Am I correct, David, or is it a different date?
Well, I think that what we want to do is we should probably do it until the board, we should waive those fees until the board takes action to re-implement them. And so if there is a date in that, I think we should probably consider removing that date.
Yes, and I believe that's what it says. Thank you.
Any questions or concerns? Treasurer Kilmer?
So you're talking about waiving the penalties, not the bill itself.
Correct. Yes, just
Okay.
penalties.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Trustee White?
If the if it's delinquent for more than, I forget what the time period is before it ends up going on to the taxes, would the late fees not roll on at that point if it's just completely non-paying, or is that different?
Correct. Yeah, no late fees will be assessed on the account. Whenever it does go to, because you're correct, delinquent utility bills do go to taxes. There is still a penalty on that whenever it goes to taxes, but that's more of an administrative fee to actually complete that transaction. That'll all still occur.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Sears? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sears.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the item O. The board will consider a motion to extend the existing COVID-19 leave time for all first responders. I'm not sure, Mr. Laddie, would you like to discuss that, or?
Mr. Chair, I'm hoping there's someone better qualified to
Okay,
discuss that.
all right. I've got Ms. Roberts here, and she can help us with that item.
Sorry. Okay.
I'm going to mute mine.
I'm going to do my best on this. Yeah. Can you mute? Okay. We offered a leave time to. We offered leave to our employees. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We offered leave time to our employees for COVID-19. So this is if you're quarantined due to coming, into exposure, or due to exposure, or if you are have COVID yourself. This is for the first responders. And then we also offered this 80 hours for our employees. The second part of this is item B, and that's the FFCRA. And that's something that was offered to us by the federal government. They pay, I think, the Social Security portion of those 80 hours. We aren't sure if that's going to be extended or not by the federal government. So what we're asking is that for those who haven't used their COVID leave time, because we're still in the midst of this pandemic, if we can extend what we have already. For instance, if an employee has not used that time, that we can extend that into 2021, should they need to use the COVID time. And it's just different for regular employees than it is for first responders, so they're two separate items.
Any concerns or questions?
Mr. Supervisor?
Clerk Robertson? Yes, Clerk Robertson?
Just a point of clarification, just so I understand. The leave time, the COVID-19 leave time is solely for that purpose. That is so that if they don't have, we hope obviously no one gets COVID, but if it's only it exists solely for that purpose and does not exist or cannot be used for other purposes. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, that's true.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome. Okay, the next item on the agenda will be what we just mentioned was that the board will consider a motion to extend the existing COVID-19 emergency paid sick time for all non-first responders, even if the FFCRA is not extended by the federal government. So Ms. Roberts just mentioned where that may come into play. So it's basically to help our employees in case they do get sick or somebody in their family does and they end up exhausting their leave. Okay, any questions on that? Yes, Ms. Hugo.
In regards to the 80 hours, let's say you have someone who is exposed or someone who does need to quarantine. If they return and then 3 weeks later they're exposed again, do they use their own personal sick time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, after they exhaust this.
Thank you.
Good question. Okay, anything else on that? Okay, the next item, the board will discuss the approval process for the Grand Blanc Township Master Plan. I know that I received concerns from a number of residents as well as board members with regard to the master plan. I know that it was pointed out to me that on our website, actually, in the presentation to the board, to the last board, when the master plan proposal was provided, it actually stated that the township board would be the approval entity for the final step of the master plan. And so I know that several of you had some concerns with that and had mentioned those to me, as well as a couple of residents that felt as though the board should be involved in that approval process. And actually, that's still on our website in terms of that the board will be the final vote on that. So I don't know if anybody has any input or we want to go to Mr. Laddie for some clarification.
Well, Mr. Chair, assuming no one has input just yet, we can have it either way. The planning statute says that the planning commission can be the final approval body for the master plan unless the legislative body asserts its right to approve the plan after the planning commission has approved it. Last Thursday, the planning commission did approve the plan, and it's currently being its final version with amendments is being prepared. And so, if the board wants to assert its right to be the final decider or approval body of the plan, then we can certainly make that happen. In fact, I can prepare a resolution for the board that asserts their right and approves the plan. The only question would be then, how much time do you need to review the finished plan? And we can make it happen either way.
You know, part of my concern too is we're bringing on our superintendent here shortly, and you know, this plan basically dictates, how we're going to use our land in the future. And if we're looking at how we're going to develop it, and our superintendent is working, tirelessly to make sure we utilize it the best of our ability, I'd like to have him weigh in on this as well as our board. So, Mr. Raridan?
Yeah, I really think that we have to approve it. I don't want to abdicate my responsibility on something as critical as the master plan for the township and, pass it on to the planning commission without the board reviewing it. I mean, to me, that's crazy.
Okay,
Yeah,
Mr. Raridan. Ms. Hugo? Who's going to be one of our new planning commission members too?
I agree with Mr. Reardon. Not being involved in the past and not knowing much about this, I would need time to review it as well. I wouldn't feel comfortable making any decisions.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
Mr. Reardon.
And I want to say that I don't, I watched the meeting on the 23rd, the informational meeting, and I'm not saying that I'm going to disagree with it, but I would like to see the document. I would like to see, where they're specifically targeting these areas that are being changed.
Yeah. Well, two things. I have spoken with a couple of the planning commission members, not to influence them one way or the other, but actually two, maybe three, that were under the impression that it was coming to the board. So they weren't clear that they were the final arbiter of it. They thought all along that it was coming to the board. So it isn't just us who thought it was coming to the board. A number of planning commissioners did as well, apparently. But I don't see any harm in having the board consider it and look at it and understand it as well. I think that it's imperative that, with Mr. White serving on the Zoning Board of Appeals, Ms. Hugo serving on the Planning Commission, Mr. Fike on the MTA, I think that all of us need to have a good understanding. Yeah, and I also heard from somebody who said, hey, I wanted to see a copy of it, and they were told that it's being prepared for print, that they don't have a copy that they can provide. So I think we need to see it and go through it and be able to make any comments on it as well. Mr. Reardon?
Well, I was just going to mention that because I was trying to blow up the areas where their changes were made, and I couldn't. I couldn't see the specific. I mean, I could see the general area of Grand Blanc Township, but I couldn't focus in on the specific zoning changes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would like to have something in hand before this becomes permanent.
Yeah. So, Mr. Laddie, what would be the process if we assert our authority to be able to review it prior to our voting on it?
Well, let's adopt let's adopt right now a resolution asserting that right, and we can send that resolution to the planning commission and to our planning department, and then we can make sure everybody gets copies and has all the time and information they need before we would put our final stamp of approval on it. Or again, there might be some proposed changes that come from the board. So I know we don't usually do this kind of thing at a committee of the whole meeting, and it's a little bit on the fly. But why don't we, if you consider, someone would offer a motion to forward a resolution to the planning commission and planning department, asserting the right of the township board to approve or reject the final version of the master plan.
Mr. Reardon?
So moved.
Okay.
Support.
Support by Ms. Hugo?
Moved by Raritan, supported by Hugo.
Yes.
Okay, bear with me just a moment.
So if I'm
Yes, Treasurer Kilmer?
if I'm understanding this right, we're asking them for, we're asking the planning commission for the right or whatever to approve or disapprove?
No,
Mr. Reardon?
no, we're
I'm sorry, Attorney Laddie.
We're just telling them that we're going to assert our right under the statute to be the final board that approves it. So the planning commission's already approved it, and that's fine. But we're allowed under the statute the opportunity to give it the final review and the final approval. And so we're going to just tell them that that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Trustee Raridan, I think you had your hand up.
Well, yeah, no, I was saying that we were just going to assert our right. I mean, I don't want to sound, we were elected to do this task. And I think we owe it to the community to actually review it before something's passed without us having any input. I realize this started in the previous board, and on the 23rd they had a meeting, and then on the 5th they had a vote, but I don't know what's in it, really. And I think we should, take a look.
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. Is anybody opposed to us reviewing it?
Not at all.
Okay. Well, then let's go ahead and take the vote then, Clerk Robertson.
Very good. A resolution on the master plan, assertion of township authority to vote on same master plan. Motion by Raridan, seconded by Hugo. Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
7-0. Motion passes.
Okay, we moved through that agenda fairly well. We started at 7 and it's about 9:20 right now. I will give a report on Thursday, a brief one, as well as Attorney Laddie if he has one. Attorney Laddie, anything else? Any closing comments that you might have?
No, sir.
Okay, I appreciate everybody's time this evening. And like I said, if you go through the packet between now and Thursday and you see some questions, feel free to email me and or call me, and we'll get you the answers, okay? I appreciate everybody's time, and
We need roll call to adjourn.
okay. Ms. Hugo's making the motion.
Okay. And seconded by myself.
Go ahead.
Okay. Trustee Fike on the motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Good night.
That's it. I'll take it as a yes. Yes, from myself. Yes from Supervisor Bennett and the time is 9:20 p.m. We are adjourned.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everyone, very much, and thank you to the public for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Thank
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.